Today we would be talking about the second half of the poem Ode to Evening by Collins. Now, in this poem, we had already talked about the first half, where I said that this poem is in the form of an ode, and ode is a poem which is lyrical in tone, and it has a subject matter which is quite dignified. It is in the form of an address, and the manner is quite stately. Now, this poem is also in the form of an ode, and it is more of Horatian ode. Odes are Horatian or Pindaric, but it is more or less Horatian ode, and it has 52 lines, and these lines are unrhymed. So it is said that it belongs to the category of Horatian ode. Some people say it could be pastoral ode as well, because most of the images are drawn from nature, and they drawn from countryside. So it could be a poem which belongs to pastures, or it is a pastoral ode, as it is said by some of the people. But those images, even if they are drawn from countryside, or they belong to pastures, as we say, they are in fact very general. They do not talk of anything particular, and the rhyme scheme of the poem and the theme of the poem make it more suitable for Horatian type of ode rather than pastoral type of ode. Now, we come to the poem where, as I said, evening has been addressed. All the odes are in the form of an address, and in this poem also evening has been addressed. And in my earlier lecture, I was telling you that how evening has been addressed and how evening has been personified. Evening has been personified in the image of a goddess, in the image of a nymph, in the image of a maid, in the image of fancy, and she's called votress, calm votress, and she's treated as a woman with lot of compose, a woman with lot of reserve, a woman who is very sympathetic to mankind, a goddess who is very sympathetic to mankind. And evening has all the fancies, all the ideas, all the abilities which draws the poet to try to benefit out of those attributes of evening, and write poems for the good of the society. Then, just as evening has the power to console the society, give peace to society, soothe the humanity, in the same way the poet also seeks assistance, or seeks blessing from evening to write in the same way. And then he moves and talks of the pensive pleasures of evening. And when he talks of these pensive pleasures, he is almost echoing John Milton, who in his Pansero talks of these pensive pleasures. And then when he would further move and would talk about how evening looks during the time when the sun is not there, and it is a transitional time when there is not much light, but it is not even complete dark. And he talks of sun sitting in its western tent, and then he talks of how wind is blowing on the clouds, and how sun is appearing to be hazy or be moving. And then he prays to evening to give him some of her qualities, so he could also write in tune with the nature, tune with the temperament of evening. And now he talks of, and sheds the freshening dew, and lovelier still the pensive pleasures sweet prepare thy shadowy ear. Then lead calm waters where some sheety lake cheers the lone heath, or sometime haloed pile or upland fellows grey. Now he's telling you that how evening's dews are fresh. Evening is innocent, so its dews are also fresh. It is lovelier still when it is still more dark or evening has fallen. The pensive pleasures to it, it gives you pensive pleasures. Now I have already said he's echoing Milton's Pensero. And prepare thy shadowy car, and evening is dark, so its car is shadowy. Then lead calm votress, evening has been compared to a saint, votress, a nun, where some sheety lake cheers the lone heath. The lake is shitty, it is covered by snow, and cheers, and it is cheers, giving pleasure to some lone heath, some lonely isolated heath, a place. Now here when he talks of heath, is echoing Shakespeare's King Lear, who was there on heath, and he was talking to nature, or some time hallowed pile, or upland fallows. Now again he's talking of countrysides where upland fallows are there, land which are not cultivated, or which have been cultivated and the harvest has been taken. Reflect its last cool gleam. Now it's the gleam is there, brightness is there, but it is cool. But when chill blustering winds or driving rain forbid my willing feet, be mine the hut that from the mountain side. Now he wants to take a better view of evening, and he wants to go to a mountain, he wants to climb a mountain, and there on a hut, which is a lonely hut, he wants to live there, and he wants to come and see how evening looks from the mountainside, and he wants to look at the valley which is there. But when chill blustering winds or driving rain, now this is very common with the transitional poets. They used to depict nature in its wildest form. Now there are storms, there are storms which are full of snow, and they are not allowing the poet to go and see nature, but at the same point of time he wants to be there in a hut and see nature, and that from the mountainside views wilds and swelling floods. Now there are floods, and he could see the valley full of floods which are wild, and hamlets brown, the village is brown with brown huts and dim discovered spires. Now you could see the spires of some church, and here there's simple bell, and see the simple bell of a church. In fact it is a simple church with its simple evening bell, and marked over all the dewy fingers draw the gradual dusky veil. And now there is dew all over the sky, and it is dusk all over, veil, it is covered with dust, the entire valley is covered with dust, while spring shall pour his showers of tea. Well, now spring has been personified, and there are references to various seasons, and spring would pour its showers and bathe thy breathing tresses. Evening is a female who has a beautiful tresses, and evening would wash the spring, the showers of spring would wash those tresses. Meekest Eve is meekest, very calm, very docile, while summer loves to sport beneath thy lingering light. Now summer is at the time of evening. During summers it is quite pleasant, and the light is lingering, it is light most of the time, while sallow autumn fills the lap with leaves, and autumn has yellow leaves, and its laps of evening are filled with yellow leaves. Or winter yelling through the troublous air affrights thy shining train. Or when winter there the air is troublous, it is storm over there, and affrights thy shrinking train. The duration of evening is cut, train duration time, and rudely rents thy robes, and your robes are fluttered in the summer storm. So long sure found beneath the sylvan shed, beneath the said shed of those sylvan or those forests or those woods. I would also like to love. I would love to be there beneath your shed. Shall fancy, friendship, science, rose-lipped health, and I would talk of poetry, friendship, science, rose-lipped health. Health is rose-lipped, because if you are healthy, you are rose-lipped. Evening would give you this. Evening would give you peace. Evening would give you love. Evening would give you care for humanity, and you would be healthy. Thy gentlest influence own, and him thy favorite name. And I would always talk of you. I would write hymns, I would write poem in your favorite name. Now here we can say that there is influence of James Thomson's seasons when he is talking of various seasons, And since he's a transitional poet, he has qualities of romantic poets as well as some of the qualities of classicist poets. So this, in this poem, you could see there is influence of Lycidas also. So most of the poets who had been writing, the romantic poets who had been writing about nature, or the classicists who had been writing about nature, so, the influences are there, they could be seen in this poem, and evening has been depicted in a very unique way. Thank you.